Welcome to A Quest for Metal and welcome back to Couch Questy. That's right, we got loads of pillows with us this time. We're ready to rank Paradise Lost. So, Paradise Lost, England's classic Gothic metal, death doom metal, all these different types of metal, even electronic on some albums. How are we going to rank the discography? That's what we're going to find out. But before I do, just like all the ranking videos, pop yours down below. What's your favourite Paradise Lost album? What's your least favourite? What's your favourite Questy background? Let me know that as well. And I guess let's just get started with my least favourite. Now, they have a lot. There's about 16 albums by the guys. The last couple I'll probably go through quite quick because I have about the same opinion on the last couple. They're all just kind of pretty good. They don't have a bad album. There's no stinker in their discography. The just last ones are just okay. They're kind of like, meh, they're pretty good. They're not anything special, they're just kind of there. And if you expect me to put Host last, well, I'm not. So let's get in with my last pick, which is Believe in Nothing. That's right. This one is a last one for me. Some of the albums that come out after Host are just kind of there. For me, just kind of floating in this kind of abyss zone where they're good, but there's nothing that stands out on them. Like, at least with Host, like, songs stand out, and the whole album as a whole just stands out. I know loads of people hate the album, but we'll get to that in a bit. Same with, like, 1 Second and stuff. They tried something different, and it worked. With this, nothing grabs my attention on this album, which is why it is last for me. And, you know, if you like it, good for you. For me, it's coming last. Symbol of Life is next with the cool little swirly stuff, kind of like Elden Ring kind of thing. Yeah, I got Elden Ring on the brain. If you can hear in rain outside, it's because there was a storm. That's why it's a bit windy and a bit wet outside. But yeah, Symbol of Life, it is in the same category as Believe in Nothing. It is on that same kind of just, I like it, but I don't love it. There's nothing really that stands out that grabs me on this album. Again, the last three, I'm just kind of like hit and miss with. I could put them in any order, but for me, it's going like this, because I do prefer a couple of songs a bit more on this album than I do in Believe in Nothing, but it still isn't amazing. So it is coming here. Next up is Paradise Lost. That's right, not Lost Paradise, Paradise Lost. This one is actually quite good. I can actually solidly put this above the other two. It is kind of like a return to form kind of album. A lot of people do love this one, but a lot of people have it last in the rankings as well. For me, it's coming, third from last, so it's not quite the best, so it's not quite the worst. I do think the songs on it stand out way more than the other two. It packs more of a punch, but it's still, I said, the last three is still kind of meh. So it's still in that meh category. Once we get on to the next one onwards, that's when shit gets real. That's when I'm like, holy crap, Paradise Lost, one of the greatest bands ever. But these three don't really do it for me. In Requiem, here we go. From here on out, all these albums are great. So In Requiem is another return to form kind of album, kind of bringing back the heaviness, the chunkiness in Paradise Lost back from the early days. And a lot of people wanted this, a lot of people loved this when it came out because it kind of revitalized the band, because they came off of, like Host and the more electronic sounding albums, and they hit with this back to the heavier side of Paradise Lost, and it went down a storm. And I really enjoyed it, but I still gotta say, there's something about those electronic albums, those synthy kind of albums that that's just too good. Too good. And one of the ones that nailed it the best is Host, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So good. Such a surprise. Going through the catalogue, it's like a roller coaster. It's like you got Death Doom, Gothic Doom, electronic, like full synth album. It's like, what's going on? Clean singing, death growls, it's everything. This album is the synthiest, the more electro-pop kind of album, and it's just too fun. I listened to this with Jamie Horsley, fellow YouTube content creator, and fellow YouTube Pratt, and it was great. Going through it, was just a wild journey, something completely unexpected. Didn't expect anything like that within Paradise, because I never heard that album. I heard loads of the others, previously, Draconian Times, Icon, all the classic stuff, but I never heard Host or some of the mid-era stuff. But yeah, this one just took me by surprise. Love it, still love it now, and I don't get the hate. It's coming here. Next up, Tragic Idol. This is when things get really hard to rank. This is because this album is amazing. Tragic Idol is amazing, and that art. This is the more heavier, classic kind of sound of Paradise Lost again. And it's just a flawless album from start to finish. And it pains me to put it this low, but there's just so many good Paradise Lost albums. I can't put everything at top. So something has to come a bit lower. And I'm sorry, Tragic Idol. It is tragic that you're coming here, but you are coming here. Next up, 1 Second. Another one that pains me to put it this low. And this is another sound change from like the early stuff. Shades of God, Lost Paradise, and then into this, which is more goth rock album. Clean singing, it's like, but this has some amazing songs on, really good songs live as well. It's completely different to the early stuff, but it works so well, kind of like that host thing, where it's completely unexpected, but it works marvellously, and it's coming here. More newer era stuff now. Faith divides us, death unites us. That's a mouthful to say really fast. Love this album. Love the art. Creepy kind of like medieval style stuff. I think it's one of the better newer releases of albums, but they still just come out with bangers and bangers like Medusa and Obsidian. Like, what's going on? It's like every album just improves going forward. This is just a great bridge gap, I'd say, between the more death doomy stuff, which they're going to become after this album, and then the more, classic doom kind of sound as they were doing before this. This is a good bridge gap. It's amazing. It's not as good as the others, but it's still it's still Paradise Lost, so it's still fantastic, and you're still gonna love it. And it's hard to explain some of these albums. They're too good. So yeah, it's coming here. Medusa is next. Another one which pains me to put it somewhat low. It's quite high, but it's still somewhat low. This is the more death growly stuff. His growls are back, just like from Lost Paradise. The art, fantastic. Fairly new album. It's the second to the latest one, just before Obsidian came out, and I loved it, and I was like, holy crap, this is Paradise Lost back to the roots. Death doomy roots. Even though they were on the album before that as well, which we'll get to. But Medusa just had some sexy songs on, some catchy riffs, catchy vocal melodies, and amazing art, and I thought they couldn't do any better, but alas, they did. The Plague Within is next, the one before Medusa. They're about on the same par with me. I just feel like the songs on The Plague Within just hit a little bit harder. They're just a bit more memorable to me than the ones on Medusa, which is why it's a little bit higher. But really, they're about on par. Crushing production, death growls, amazing singing, just the whole package. The Plague Within is the whole package, and I want to eat more of it. Now comes into the really hard part of the video, where a lot of the classic albums are going to be. Now, next up is Shades of God. A lot of people's ones, a lot of people's best album, and I love it, which is why it's this high, but I never got into it as strongly as some of the other classic albums. I do think it's a fantastic album, more gothic side of the album, kind of like the album Gothic. But yeah, it just didn't tickle my fancy just as much as the others, and that's just a personal thing. Nothing against the album, it's just, I just think the other couple that I'm going to mention are a bit better. But it's still a classic album for a reason, because all the songs hit, they hit hard, and they are fantastic. And this album is fantastic as well, so give all these albums a chance, because you might end up liking this one the best, like some other people do. For me, it's coming here, still fairly high. Icon is next. Another one, which I could easily put as number 1. It's iconic. It's too good. It's too good. All the arts of the early stuff are just kind of creepy as well, aren't they? Lovely, amazing singing, amazing riffs, amazing melody. The mood in it as well, the mood, it's just depressing. It's depressing, and it's what you want with doom metal. Classic, amazing doom metal, and Paradise Lost delivers it on every album, and this one is so good, which is why it's high again. So coming in at 4th place is Lost Paradise, the debut. the proper murky, deep, dark Death Doom album. The one where it's pure evil from start to finish, and I almost had this number 1. This one is one that I had number 1 for a long time, but a couple of others have just knocked it down a little bit. But if you want something dark, deep, and kind of like, I guess kind of like Catatonia's Dance of December Souls, or any of the kind of early, like the early Anathema stuff, this is probably darker than them, to be honest. If you want something just brutal, this is the Paradise Lost album for you. It's heavy as hell all the way through, dark as hell, and I want to listen to it right now. So, top 3, here it comes down to. Number 3 is Obsidian, the latest album by Paradise Lost. That's right, from all the early shit to the later shit. Obsidian, the latest album they ever did, it's that good. That's right, it's that good that it's coming here at number 3. As soon as the singles came out, they've been stuck in my head ever since they dropped. He mixes in all the eras. The goth rock era, the kind of the Death Doom era, because there's growls on here, singing on here, kind of more dancey, upbeat stuff as well. It has the whole package within this album. It's all the eras mixed into one, and I think it's the perfect send-off album. So if they don't do any more albums after this, I'll be fine, because this album is classic. I love it. It's number 3. It's Obsidian. It's great. So number 2 and number 1, really hard for me. Really hard to decide, but ultimately, Gothic is number 2. I keep flip-flopping between them, which one I like more. Gothic has just this creepy sound to it. It's probably the most creepy album, and if you want something that is pretty Gothic, then look no further, because this one will do it for you. It still has those kind of growls. It still has this kind of edgy atmosphere in, which I appreciate. It's not until, Draconian Times and stuff like that where they started to go into the more Gothic territory. I know this is called Gothic, but I wouldn't say it's a Gothic album. I would say it's Death Doom still. It has just this weird atmosphere to it. Best atmosphere out of any album. Great sound. Really heavy still. And catchy as hell. What more can you want? It's one of the best Paradise Lost albums. It's consistently on people's top lists, and it's number 2 for me, which means I'm going to go with the cliche pick with this one. It's Draconian Times, that's right. Draconian Times. I heard this album in full at Bloodstock last year. They played the full album, and it was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. One of the greatest festival experiences ever. So many good songs on this. Again, it's kind of like Gothic, but a bit more, not quite as heavy. Not quite as heavy as Gothic, but the songs, every single song on Draconian Times is a banger. There's no dud. It's amazing from start to finish. It's one of the greatest Paradise Lost albums, one of the greatest Death Doom, or just Doom, Gothic Doom albums, whatever you want to call it, of all time. It's the catchiest Paradise Lost album. It's the one that gets stuck in my head the most, just like Obsidian. So it is my number 1. So that was it. That was my Paradise Lost ranking. It was really hard to do. Really hard to do, which is why it took me like a year to do it. So let me know your own rankings down below. What do you think of my list and all this crazy shit? Let me know down below, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.